Welcome to the Traveling Professors. I'm Professor Bob.
And I'm Professor Sheri.
And together we are
the Traveling Professors.
Welcome to show number 90 of the Traveling Professors. Today we'll be taking a walking tour of Naples. I probably should tell you how we end up at Naples. When we took our Italian trip, we started in Venice, spent a couple of days in Venice, then we went to Florence for a week, and then we went to Naples, and then went back to Rome, and finished up with a couple of days in Venice before flying out. So we're coming into Naples, and our intention, of course, is to see Pompeii. But we're going to be here for 3 days. Today is kind of the walk through where we're staying, go up to see Fort St Elmo, get this magnificent view of the city and the surroundings, have a little dinner, and check into our new apartment. It's a B&B, and I might add it really was very comfortable. And then the next day we went off to Pompeii. As I said in the introduction, we went from Florence to Naples, so we were on the Italio train. This is a private train system in Italy, and we were on it most of the time. I think we only used the regular Italian rail lines once, and that was to go to Pisa and back. And leaving Florence, heading to Rome, there's really not a lot to see because they have it in a really high-speed area with kind of concrete walls on either side. But we did get a chance to see the Tiber River before we got to Rome, and this fortified town sitting up on one of the hills. And after we blew through Rome and headed into southern Italy, you see the terrain changes quite significantly. It's much more mountainous, a lot of trees. We were coming in, going through kind of a stormy period. We didn't really get rained on, but the clouds sure looked like it. And you can see how thick the clouds are at this one section of the trip down. And then here we are, and you can see the valleys and the hills. This is one of the last features of the mountains that we saw just before we started down towards the coast and of course into Naples. And we come into the main train station, and my intention was to get off the train into the station and then take the metro to our B&B, which was on the Palazzo Dante. Well, when we get to the train station, the one line that I was hoping to take hadn't opened yet. That was delayed, and they won't open it until we were ready to leave. And the other line, that was closed. They had some work on it, so we had to take a different line that didn't go anywhere near it. It went up above where we were staying, and then we had to walk about 8 blocks down to the Palazzo of Dante. Aha, you didn't think there was a map. Well, there is. So here's where we come in. We come in here at the Naples Centrale, the main train station. We thought that we could take this metro line that would go out of the station and come directly up to the Dante Palazzo. Well, that wasn't open yet, which is too bad because there's a lot of really good tourist sites along here. So we should have taken this one that goes from here up to this particular point and then down. Unfortunately, this section that ran from the Archaeological Museum down, that's the part that was closed. So what we had to do was we had to stay on the train. So we went from the train station, here's the metro line, goes up here, and it should have gone down to our Dante station, which it didn't. So we had to stop at the next metro stop, which is here, just before you go up the mountain to Fort St Elmo, and then walked back down with our suitcases to where we were supposed to be. It wasn't that big of a deal, but it was a little nerve-wracking when you've never been into a city like that. And we had a good map. So when we finally get to the right spot, to the Dante Palazzo, can't miss it with the big statue of Dante, we turn around, and this is the building that we were staying in. It's a former palace, and the family that owned it still operates it. The woman ran the B&B. The lower level was for parking. The next level up was an entire area for an artist studio. Then you had apartments at the very top where she lived, and then you have the B&B part. So we went through the door. The gentleman there selling souvenirs, his responsibility was to check us into the building. So we got into the building, and here's the courtyard looking up. And one of the funny things about this was the only complaint that anybody had that had been here was the fact that it cost 20 cents or a fifth of a euro to take the elevator up than to take the elevator down. And they thought it was ridiculous to pay for a room and then still have to pay this 20-cent fee to go up and down the elevator. It really wasn't any big deal, but there's the little box where you put your 20 cents. And it was the B&B Palazzo Ruffo Bagnari. So here's the second level, looking down at into the area where the parking is, looking across. And then we come down the hallway, and that's the door to the entrance to the facility. And then they checked us in, and they handed us this set of keys. Notice 2, 3, 4, 5 keys, and they're gigantic. And the bronze looking one, they said that's how you get in at night. And I'll show you that when we come back at night to see what it's like. She takes us to our apartment. Very, very nice. As they open the door to go in, and you see the living area, little dining table. Just looking back to the door, some storage, the bed. The funny thing about this is when we stayed in Florence, we stayed at a convent. There is an organization in Europe called Monastery Stays, and you can stay in monasteries or in the convents or other areas. You just follow their rules. It was only like $80 a day to stay in Florence, and we were 2 blocks from the Duomo. They served breakfast, they had a little chapel, and you had to pay cash. But it was like being in a prison from a bed standpoint. That was the hardest bed I've ever slept on in my life. Anyway, back to the tour of our apartment. And then we get to the bathroom, which is very nice. And then we walk down the hall. Since we came in late after breakfast, she had food there for us. So this is where we would come into the morning to take our breakfast and relax. But the view from here is quite stunning. But first thing I did when I showed you the picture of the bed is laid on it, and oh, it was so luxurious. So anyway, you'll see what that looks like when we get to Florence. So you look out where you have some of the other buildings, and then here is the Palazzo of Dante. There's Dante's statue. Can't miss it. And by the way, there is the metro stop right here. And it worked the rest of the time we were there. So it was very, very handy. So once we settled in, we've decided that what we're going to do is go up to the highest spot in the city, which is Fort St Elmo, and take some pictures because the lighting was spectacular. So with our trusty map, Sheri and I begin our journey up to Fort St Elmo. Now it's called Castel St Elmo. It derives its name from a 10th century church, which was dedicated to Saint Erasimo, which was then shortened to Ermo, and finally to Elmo. And it's in the upper part of the town, and this is where all the luxury shopping centers and things are. We go out to the Palazzo Dante and the metro station, which didn't work when we were coming in. Well, it didn't work coming down, but it worked going up. So we were able to take the metro up to the Archaeological Museum, stop, and then take the metro all the way up to the fortress, or the northern area. And then we walked a couple of blocks to get to it. So here's the train station, the metro station. And then this is the metro station as we're leaving to go up to the top and get out when we get up to that particular area. If you went off to the right, that would be the shopping area. To the left where we're headed is towards Fort St. Elmo. It was originally built in 1275. It was known originally as the Bell Fort. So here we come in. There's the area where you buy your tickets, come in the fortress. It's built out of the volcanic tufa, and you can see these incredible battlements along here. Now, it was upgraded on many occasions, and it was badly damaged in 1456 in an earthquake. Some of the towers were destroyed in that. And then later on, Don Pedro de Toledo, the first governor on Aragonese rulers, decided to do a complete redo from 1537 to 1547. And it remained in pretty good shape for quite some time until 1587, when a bolt of lightning struck the castle and exploded the ammunition dump, destroying the church, the chaplain's house, and the officers' quarters. So it was rebuilt again in 1599 to 1601. And it looks pretty much as it has throughout its career. It's just been upgraded every so often. So here we come into the main area, and you can see the ramp going up into the fort area. You see some scaffolding. They're doing some work. And then here is one of the ramps. So we go up the ramp. But this was designed originally for cannons to be rolled up here on top. But the important part of this is, as beautiful as the exterior of the fort is, it's the view that is just unbelievable. Now, I know the pictures of Fort St. Elmo that you've seen thus far doesn't really do it justice, because we really didn't come up to see the fort. The fort is, of course, nice looking and stunning, but it's the view. And we had such a beautiful day. And so you come up to Fort St. Elmo for this. Now, this is a picture off of the battlements looking to the south of Italy, to the south of the city. And then this is a close-up of one of the buildings that was in the last picture. And then turning off the other direction, you can see the Bay of Naples. You can see southern Italy. And then here, directly across, and here's Capri, one of the islands of the rich and famous in ancient Rome. And then looking down to the point of the city that goes out into the Bay of Naples, you can see the old city here. Here's a little closer view of it. You're saying, well, where's Mount Vesuvius? Well, here is the awesome view from off of the fort. So you have the Bay of Naples, you have its sheltered harbor, you can see some of the medieval fortifications, and there is Mount Vesuvius. Here's a little better shot showing the volcano. And then here is a really nice close-up of it. She's hiding a little bit. She's a little bit shy here at this point. And then you go a little bit further off to the north, and you see the part of the rest of the city of Naples. There's Vesuvius in the corner. And here's looking back down into the main harbor. And then there's a little better shot of the old medieval fortifications by the harbor. Here's one where you can see the Anvane Castle that was put here by the Normans. And so that's why you come up Fort St Elmo to take these pictures. So then we walk around the castle a little bit more because we still have part of the city we haven't seen. So this is the northern section of modern Naples. Here's a little closer view of the city. And then we turn it a little bit further to the south. You start seeing some of the greenery. And then looking straight down from the fort, you can see how close some of the houses are constructed to it. And then you're looking down through the battlements, seeing the streets below. And then we begin to leave. So we're basically reversing what we were doing. So we're going back down the battlements, down the ramp, down to the bottom where you can see the edges of the fortification walls. And of course, this one is an attacker's eye view of what it is. And then we begin heading back. Well, we've been there for a while, so we opted to stop and have an afternoon meal. So we stopped by this pizzeria. They're everywhere. You had all sorts of choices to pick for food. And so we picked this older one, been in existence since 1916. We actually ate here several times, and one day we had these incredibly baked fish. But here's what our pizza looked like that they brought to us. It's monstrous, and that was all we needed to eat for the rest of the day. So we wandered around, went to some stores, did some shopping, and then get back on the metro. Here we are going back down to get the metro. Some pictures of the terminal. And we go back to the archaeological museum, and they fixed the line so that we can actually head south again. We end up back at the Palazzo Dante, so there's a nice Dante statue. And again, here's the front of our apartment building. And now we have to get in because they've closed the door. And so this being one of the old doors, you don't open the whole thing because it is gigantic. So it's a miniature section. This is what they would have used in the Middle Ages to limit the access to their houses. Remember, I'm 6'2", so we open it and then I go through. And then here it is on the inside. You can see how thick the door is with Sheri's coming inside. That's what we had to go in and out of when we went out at night or came back at night. And that was our first day in Naples. Sheri and I hope you enjoyed the tour. Please come by our YouTube channel at Bob Packett. And please subscribe and leave some comments. Thank you very much. I've been doing podcasting on history for over 15 years. I've got over 4,000 shows, and I've done CDs, which of course can be sent out as USBs. So if you would really like to get more on history for free, then come by my website, as you see here, historyaccordingtobob.com, and see what's there. So thank you very much again.